Hi guys, very good morning to you. This is Ajay, and today we are going to discuss about how to create the sheets using loops. Right? It's a must watch for those people who really work on Excel a lot and are looking for this kind of automation. And this is also going to give you a good insight on on the looping part, right? And this is the video number 233, and let us go ahead and start this. The code. Before I write the code and before I exactly tell you how we're gonna do the things today, I just want to actually tell you one thing, that if you're watching my channel for the first time, then we have created a lot of actually the videos on Excel VBA, MS Access and MS Access VBA, and to help you in choosing your subject, what I have done is I have created the playlist also. So these are the playlist, and you see that here we have the Access, the videos on the macros. Here we have the videos on Excel VBA. The topic is file handling. Here you have Access table videos, Access query videos. Here you have Excel VBA, Access interview questions. Here you have Access VBA loops. So in this recently we have started a series. If you know me by my channel, then you know that recently we started a series where we have started working on the for, next and do loop and do until loops, which are very much used in VBA. And if you haven't done that yet, please go ahead and watch all these videos, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and there are a lot of part 7 is also there, and there are another advanced videos as well. After watching those videos, you can also go ahead and watch this video. These are extremely very usable useful videos. They are the videos which directly relates relates the VBA code with our office, the work which we do. So you will find them very much close to your work, trust me on that, right? So in this video now, what we are going to do is we are going to actually discuss today, because we have started this series. So today I wanted to go on the next level, and I really wanted to show you something, that how you can actually use this looping part in any of your office projects also. So far we discussed in the part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and part 6 we have discussed about the basics of the loops. But in this example we are going to talk about something really real. So what I want to do is I want to actually, let's say, using the loop, it could be for next and it could be a do loop as well. Let us try on both the things. We want to say that whatever the names we have here, based on these names, based on these values, our worksheets should be created automatically. So the macro, when you hit, it picks up this Jan, it creates the sheet with the name of Jan, and then Feb, and then March, and then April. So in this way we are going to create this code. So how are we going to do that? Let's go ahead on the Visual Basic environment, and let me click on the module. Right now in this video I'm definitely not going to talk about the basics of the loops, because as I said, we have already covered 6-7 videos on that. So if you just do not have any idea about the looping part in the Excel VBA, then please go ahead and watch those videos first. You can pause this and you can quickly go back and watch those videos, because this video then you will not be able to understand it. But if you have a basic understanding, let's go ahead and start the code. Right, so I'm going to write here the create sheets. Now you see, the first thing which we are going to do, we are going to use it with the for next loop, and then again you will also have the understanding that how we practically use these loops, right? Because in the previous videos we more of a were interested in understanding the concept. Now this concept, we have got the concept. Now the time has come when we are actually going to use this concept. We are going to use this in our some project, a real application, right? So we're going to start it. The first thing which I'm going to write here, I'm going to select the sheet. So I write the sheet 1 dot select, and I go to the range A2, because my header is name and I don't want to create any sheet with that, right? So I go to the A2 sheet, and this is how we write. Right now here I'm going to declare one variable, dim I as long. Okay, and for I equals 2, now we are going to start the loop. How many times I need to run this loop, that is also the first thing. Now you see that you really don't have any idea in this particular example, though I know that if I run from the Jan, then Jan, Feb, March, April, that means I need to run the loop 4 times, right? But I'm not going to make this code static. What I will do, I will make it dynamic, so that every time if I have some more months added in the sheet, the new sheets can be created using those names. So instead of this, we can use the last row. Okay, so what is the last row? So here I will write simply range and then I'm gonna write here a10 lakh dot end excel, just one second, excel up dot row. This now syntax will generate the row number, right? So what now this line means? This line means that it goes to the a10 lakh first of all. So let's say it's on this 10,48,576, as just to understand the how this logic works actually, though I have also uploaded a video on the same, how to find the last row. You can go ahead and watch it. It is here. Let me just scroll it down. I think basics of do loop, basics of let me just scroll it down. Yeah, that's the video number 222. Find the last row and use it in the for next loop. So from there you will understand. I have explained it there. So basically it's a code which we use to get the last row. So if I put my cursor here on this cell, which is 10,48,576, and I use the control up arrow. Now control up arrow is actually the Excel shortcut key. If you don't know about it, then let me tell you, it takes you to the last filled cell of the column. So it takes me to this cell. So if you record this in your macro editor, this shortcut key, when you go here in the developer and record, then you would find it the last row, that you would find the same syntax, sort of this very similar syntax, right? So this is the syntax which we have written. Now as we know that for is always followed by the next, so we cannot avoid that. So I've written here. Now what is the first thing I want to write? So I want to now create a sheet, and the sheet name has to be exactly the name which we are going to display here. So I'll write here cells and I plus 1, and the column is going to be 1 dot value equals to active sheet dot name. Let's say this is what exactly I want to do. Right now, see, first of all, the loop, when you are going to run the loop, you need to add the sheet. So this is how you add the sheet. Sheets dot add. Right now, before, after, count, type as object. I mean, it's a long syntax, right? Are you interested in adding it before some particular sheet, or maybe after some particular sheet, or maybe count? Count means that count all the sheets and then add it in the end, right? So in this case, let's say we want to add this sheet before the sheet 1, which is this sheet, right? So how you can write it? You can simply write it here, sheet 1, sheet, and the name of the sheet, sheet 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and let us see that how this code is going to generate. So I'm going to run the code, and there we go. Now you see that the sheet is added before this sheet 1, right? If I reset the code and I delete, let's say let me do it once again for you, because it is very important for you. I'm going to comment this out. Now some people also write like this, sheets dot add. Now what they want to do is, because if you look at the above code here, somebody if going to read the code, they cannot understand whether it is after or before, or it is count, which parameter it is, right? So in order to make it very much clear, readable, you can also write the parameter name, which is before, like this, colon followed by the colon and equals to. Some people write the code like in this way also. So now you need to again do the same thing, write the sheet name, sheet, and sheet 1. This is how you write the sheet name. Now this is much clear, though you can write it in any way. You see that even this line also worked for us, right? So when you have a lot of practice in the code, then generally you like to use this code. You really don't want to write like before or after, right? But in terms of readability, I think this gives a lot of ease to the user, that what exactly you are doing, right? So now let's say if I'm going to run this code right now, you see that the same thing will happen. The sheet gets created before the sheet 1, but this is more, now in terms of readability, it is more understandable. Now let me delete this. Now let me show you once again. Now let's say what you want to do, you don't want to do this before, you want to use it after. So you can write here after as well. If you remember, when I write the sheets dot add, you see that I got the after, before, and count. So basically when people write before or after, they don't really have to use these comma words, right? For example, now what if I don't want to write here before or after? I simply want to write that it should add the sheet after the sheet 1. So in that way, if you don't want to use these parameters like before and then colon equals to, then you have to use the comma. The moment you use the comma, the after parameter gets highlighted, which means that now you're on the after parameter. So whatever you write here, that will be considered for the after parameter. So here also I can write like this, sheets and then sheet 1, right? And I can close it. I don't need the count, so just leave it like this. So this line guys, and this line, both are same actually, right? Here we have used the comma, so comma means that it's the second parameter. Now somebody who really is very good in VBA like me, then that means that he can just catch that easily, right? By the way, I was just kidding when I said that somebody really like me here. No, of course not. I mean, I also learn a lot of things. I also watch YouTube channels, Google, and read a lot of books. So I think knowledge is something which always increases when you share the things, and it has no end, right? So today also I love to learn the things, right? It's a never-ending process. All right, let's get back to the business. So this and this line one and the same thing. Now you have to choose which one you would like to use. So I have just used this sheet dot add right after. So now if you run this, see what will happen. As expected, it added the sheet after now sheet 1. So where do you exactly want to add it, right? This is how we use this code. Okay, so now let's say we want to use this, so let me delete this. Let's say we want to use the after only. So let me now delete this, and let's go ahead now. I'm going to run the code now. There we go. Now you see that this is going to give you a value called 5. So the loop is going to run 5 times, right? So the 5 times the loop is going to run, but you have here values called 1 2 3 4 only. So why 5? Because the last row is 5, and including the header, it makes it the 5, but we don't really need to consider the header. So what we will do, the loop actually wants to run 5 minus 1. So I'm going to subtract minus 1 from it. Okay, let me reset the code, and now let us run the code again. Now this 5 minus 1 will make it 4. So the loop will run 4 times. Remember, I equals to 1 to 4. The first time the loop running, it added the sheet. Now this line is very important. Now here what we are going to do, let me first of all delete this. Now active sheet, you see that now the sheet 5 is inserted. So active sheet dot name, if you write this line, then that means you are going to define it, you are going to give it a name. Now what name you want to give it, that's an important thing. So the name which I want to give it is sheet. I write the sheet name, which is sheet 1, and in the sheets, what is the row number? I plus 1, because I plus 1 will make it 2, and you know that my value starts from the 2, and the column number will remain as it is 1. So now when you execute this line, you see that you got the value here called Jan. Okay, now the next time when you run the loop, again it is going to add the sheet after the sheet 1. Okay, what is the next value in the cells? You can see that it is now Feb. Again the sheet gets added after the sheet 1. So you again execute this line, because you see this I is also getting incremented. So 3 plus 1 will make it 4. That means on the sheet 1 part, the row number 4 and column number 1, which means A4, whatever the value you have, that is going to be given to this active sheet, right? So when you add the sheet, obviously that becomes the active sheet. So we are saying that active sheet dot name equals to go to the cell 5 comma 1, which makes it A5 of the sheet 1, and add the numbers, whatever the value there, and the loop stops now finally. So you have all the sheets added here, right? Now if you're wondering that why I have added here this sheet name, you see that if I delete this name, and if we are going to run this loop again, let me delete the sheets. Okay, now let us start the code again. There we go. The sheet added. Now look at this. This line will give you the error. Why? Application defined or object defined error. When you get this error, means that there is something which VBA is not able to find it out. It's not defined actually. Now have a look. You are saying that the active sheet name is supposed to be equals to the cells and the row number, this and this. Now have a look. What is the I value? The loop is running for the first time, so obviously I is 1, right? 1 plus 1 will make it 2. So you are saying that go to the row number 2 and go to the row number column number 1, which means A2, but of which sheet? That is the problem. By default, VBA will assume that you want to actually pick up the value of A2 cell, which belongs to the sheet 9, and in the A2 there is nothing written. It's totally a blank cell, and that is why you will get the error. So you have to tell that it belongs to actually the sheet 1, and this is how you write the sheet 1 name. So what will happen, it will go in the A2 cell, it will go in the A2 cell of sheet 1 and picks up the value for you from there, right? So let me press F5 quickly, and there we go, we got all the sheets created. Okay, now the next time, let's say if I increase it, let me quickly delete them. So let's say we add some more numbers, or maybe we can add this, let's say, and now you can of course create the button also here. No need to tell you that. You can go to the insert. I'm using this 2016 Excel, so you don't see here shapes, but if you're using 10 or Excel, I think 2013, insert and shapes. So these are the shapes which you can use to create the button. Just click on the assigned macro. That's my macro, and I'm just going to click OK. Now let us go ahead and check the sheets. Oh wow, amazing, all the sheets are created, right? So in this way you can actually use the loops, right? Now this is the for next loop. Can you also use the do loop? There's another loop, right? As I said again, that if you don't have any idea about these loops, then I have already started a series on that, and there are 6-7 videos on the do loop also, and the for next, right? So this code can also be prepared using the do loop. Is it possible? Let us go ahead and let us check that, right? So I'm simply going to copy right here. Let me just press space, and there we go, sub create sheets using do loop. Okay, all right. So now in the do loop, we will have to see that what criteria we are supposed to write. Let me first delete the sheets, because you see that do loop doesn't work on the numbering. You can't say that run this loop this much of time, basically do loop works on the criteria. So in the criteria, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say create the sheets until and unless you find any blank cell, right? So that is going to be interesting. So I'm going to write here dim, let's say, first of all, simply select the sheet. So we're going to be on the sheet 1, and dot select. This will select the sheet, and then I'm going to be on the A2, very important, because we don't want to start from A1, it's a header. Okay, now do while active cell not equals to blank. That's it. Next. Okay, and active cell, I beg your pardon, dot value. So we want to run this loop till the time we don't find any blank cell. The moment we find the blank cell, the loop should stop, right? So while doing that, what exactly we want to do, so we can say that we can declare a variable, and we can say that the value of that variable should be equal to the active cell value. Okay, and we can declare the variable on the top. So active cell, you know that the moment it starts with A2, it will have a jam, and the variable, the var, will hold that value. So now the next thing which we want to do is I'm simply going to add the sheet here. So sheets dot add, as you already know what we want to do here. So let's say this time let's add before. So in the before, I'll write here this before colon equals to, which is not really required. You can also avoid it. You can simply write the sheets and the sheet 1 as well. It's all up to you. I have already explained to you. So we want to add the sheet, and the sheet name which we want to give is active sheet dot name equals to var, using the variable. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let us see if we can get through this. Next, for without. All right, so how can I use the next word? So silly of me, actually I have to use a loop word, right? Because do comes with the loop, not with the next. All right, there we go. So now you see that the active cell value is Jan, and my var has now Jan. So sheet is going to be added as expected. The sheet is added, and the sheet name is now Jan. The next time the loop is going to run, now have a look. Now this is what I was talking about. Your active cell becomes empty, and the moment it is empty, it means that it is actually equals to this empty. so the loop fails, right? But you must be wondering that, you know, how it is possible, because we have a value here after Jan. But the point is, the moment you change the sheet, the moment you added the sheet, that becomes your active sheet, right? So here again we will have to do a trick. So what we need to do is, there are two things which we need to do. Once you added the sheet, you got to be back on your sheet 1. There could be another way also. After all, everybody has its own way of, you know, thinking, and if you give this task to 100 people, I'm telling you, you will get 10 different ways out of it, right? So but I think that this is the easiest one, that select the sheet back, okay, and from there move one cell down. This is how you write: from the active cell, offset me 1 row down and 0 column. 0 column, why? Because you know that I'm on the same column. I'm not changing my direction. I should be moving like this, from Jan to Feb, and then Feb to March, and then, you know, so on, right? So let us give it a try and let us see if we can get this thing done. All right, there we go. Now as expected, I'm on the A2, and this is not a blank cell, so the loop will run, and you have already seen that the name is Jan. But now, because if I don't use these lines, the next time the loop runs, it finds that the cell is blank, and the loop will stop, because the criteria is not going to, you know, meet. So in this case, that is why we said that let's go back to the sheet 1, and now you see that when we started the code, we started it with A2, which is now active cell, obviously, right? It is going to be the active cell. So we just saying that now offset from this active cell. Offset means change the position, basically change the position by 1 row, being on the same column actually. So that's why I have written 0. So what will happen now, the next time this will run, this line active cell dot offset, it will take your cursor to the February, which is the A3 cell, which is the next cell, right? Now again the loop will again run as usual, and now the active cell, is it blank? Of course it is not blank, because it has captured the Feb, right? So again the var will have the new value, which is called February, and the new sheet is going to be added, and this sheet is going to hold the value called Feb. Again Feb is added, and it comes back to the sheet, and this again from this active cell, now it moves to the next cell, which is March, and the next time it will run, let me run it quickly. You see that we got the March sheet, right? Now the next time when the loop runs, obviously because we got this active cell offset 1.0, so this takes us to the blank cell. Now once it is a blank cell, you know that this is empty and this is also empty. So basically we are saying that run this loop as long as you don't find the active cell as blank, right? Not equals to blank, but here active cell is blank. So if active cell is blank, then means condition is not going to work, right? So immediately the macro will stop. So choice is yours, guys. I'm leaving it to you. Whatever way you want to use it, you know, you can use these codes, but the idea is when you use the loops, you know, you should be confident enough that, you know, that this is going to give you a good flexibility, right? In this particular example, I think both the loops are perfect. You can use any of them. So it is not always that, you know, that if you use the do loop, then for next loop cannot be implemented and vice versa. It can be, I mean, you know, you can use both the options as well. So that's the end of the video number 223, and I will be coming back with some more exciting videos. Until then, you stay fit and have a great learning. Thank you so much, guys.